So today, again, we're talking about what to do once you've finished your tax reporting, some tips that are going to help you be successful with TradeLog, as well as some best practices. So let's get started right away with a couple of tips that we have found very helpful when it comes to ending the tax year. And most of you, when you're done with your tax reporting, especially your trader tax reporting, you're very happy it's over with and you're ready to put it behind you. And I don't blame you. But we do have a couple of tips, things to do before you completely forget about TradeLog and you completely forget about the 2016 tax year. These tips are going to help you not only for the future, but also if for some reason you need to go back to the 2016 tax year for some reason. So the two tips involve saving copies of your tax year reports and backing up your TradeLog files. So let's go into these in a little detail and see what we're talking about. So first of all, when it comes to saving copies of your tax year reports, what we encourage is to save a PDF, or if you prefer to have a printed copy, you can do that. But to do this for your tax year reports for 2016, I suggest taking and creating a folder on your computer for 2016 TradeLog reports or whatever else you want to name it, but have all of these in one place so they're packed up. And that way, if you ever need to go back and find this information, this is going to be more than just what was with your tax return. But you'll have that information. You can go back to the reports if you need it. So what reports do we recommend that you save copies of? Well, all of the tax forms that apply to you. The Form 8949 that most of you probably are filing. If you had Section 1256 contracts, that report with the details. If you had currencies, Forex, any of those things, you want to run the tax forms. And I'll show you in the software too, so you can see which ones I'm talking about on the menu. So those are definitely ones you want to save. Now, those you probably have with your tax return as well, but it's good just to save a PDF copy of those or print them out for your records. Also, we recommend that you save the gains and losses report, which is also a taxable reporting that TradeLog generates. You may use that if you're filing with your state. Sometimes the state requires you to file a detail and you might be using the G&L report, but even if you're not using it with your actual tax filing, we still recommend you save that report. The reason is that the G&L report has a lot more details on it than the Form 8949. So if for some reason we need to go back or you need to go back and look at details, you're going to find it easier to use the G&L report to maybe understand what happened with a particular security or set of trades or adjustments that happened in the tax year. Especially if for some reason your actual TradeLog data file was lost or corrupted or something happened to it, you have the G&L report, which really explains more about any adjustments that were taking place. In addition, the wash sale details report is a good report to save because it explains the specific details about all the wash sale adjustments that are affecting your TradeLog data file, and that can be helpful as well sometimes. A lot of times you may never ever have to go back to these reports, but if for some reason something happens, you'll be thankful that you saved these and that we can access that information. Now, if you've elected mark-to-market, you have the Section 475 election, then you want to, of course, save the tax reports for mark-to-market, the Form 4797 attachment, the securities mark-to-market report, and the Section 481 adjustment if that applies to you this year. So let me open up TradeLog. I'm going to open up my 2016 account here, my file, and so you understand which reports in the software. If you go to the reports menu, of course, at the top under tax analysis, we have the wash sale details report. So that's a report you would want to save. And then also any of the taxes reports that aren't grayed out. So these are ones that apply to your situation. You would want to run all of these and save them as a PDF. And that's going to include your actual forms that you use with your IRS return, as well as the gains and losses report. Now, when you run any of these reports, you can run the report, and then at the top, what you're going to find, give this just a moment, is a button that actually allows you to save a PDF of the report. So you can choose that, and then you can save the PDF and naming it whatever is going to help you clearly identify. I strongly recommend putting the tax year in the name and then whatever else you need to put to identify the report. And like I mentioned, it'd be good to put those all in one folder. You can call that 2016 TradeLog reports or whatever else you need to use to identify it. And that way they're all together and you've got that packed up and ready to go. Now, the next tip that we mentioned, once you finish the tax year, before you completely forget about 2016, we strongly recommend that you back up your TradeLog files. And you can do this, the easiest way is using the backup restore function, which is found in TradeLog software. Now, you'll want to back up both your 2016 tax year file and also back up the 2017 tax year file. So for example, here I have my 2016 file opened up in TradeLog. So under the File menu, you can go to the Backup Restore function. We choose that, and you'll notice it automatically creates a suggested name. It's a TDF backup, which is a backup version of the TradeLog data file. You can change this if you want to change the name to something else. I recommend you keep the name exactly as TradeLog has it because it'll be easy to match up if for some reason you need to restore that. You can also choose a different location where you want to put that at. You can do that as well. And there's also options, for example, to include the date timestamp as well. So if you are backing up frequently, then we recommend adding the date and timestamp. Then it's real easy to see what date and time when each backup was generated. So some of our more active users actually will back up more frequently using that feature. But create your backup file, and if you use the default directory, which TradeLog is usually going to default to, it's found in your TradeLog folder in the backups. And I'll show you that right now. So here in my Documents folder, my TradeLog folder, there's a folder for backups. And so once we create that backup file, you'll see that shows up here. And this is a file you can't just open. It actually has to be restored, and that's good because that's the purpose. It protects the data from someone accidentally messing it up. And so that's going to be the 2016, but also remember when you end the tax year for 2016, TradeLog creates your 2017 tax year file. So we recommend you go ahead and create a backup of that. Now you might think, well, I'm not done with 2017. Why am I creating a backup? Well, because a lot can happen between now and the next time you use TradeLog. And so if you lose this 2017, it's going to mean more work for you to go back and undo the end tax year and redo that function in 2016 and all that. So just create a backup of the 2017. That way you have it if for some reason you need to go back and start over and restore the 2017 file. So the same process, go to Backup Restore, and then you can just create your backup of the 2017 file. Now, the next thing that we want to stress when it comes to backups, though, and the benefits with this, it's important to, once you save the backup, to either save it to an external location or move it to an external location, because computers do crash, computers fail. And if you've never had it happen to you, well, you'll experience it at some point probably. And so if you have the backup stored on the same computer as the regular TradeLog file, then it really doesn't help you if your computer fails or something happens. So we recommend putting it on some external location. That can be a cloud storage account, like if you're using OneDrive, Dropbox, Google Drive, or some other cloud storage. Also, you could use an external hard drive if you're putting your backups there, or just putting it on a thumb drive or flash drive. That works as well. Some people will email themselves the backup file, and it's kept on their email server, like if they're using Gmail or something. You can do that. That's maybe not always the best way to do a backup, but the key is think about what you're going to do if your computer crashes. Make sure that backup file is located somewhere that you can get to it and be safe. And a very important note to remember, our TradeLog support department does not keep backup copies of your files. We get asked this question every year. We have poor people who contact us, their computer crashed, something happened. and they wonder if we have their TradeLog files, and we don't. Even if you sent your file to our support team, if we were helping you with the problem, that's only kept temporarily, and then it's purged out. We don't save those files, so we probably won't have it if you send it to us for support. So please make sure and go ahead and back up your files and put those in a safe location. At least once you finished your 2016 tax year, it's good to make sure you back up that 2016 file to a safe external location. That way you can get it back. If you're creating backups regularly through the year, that's up to you how often you want to move those to an external location. But of course, if you're using something like OneDrive or Dropbox or Google Drive, you can usually integrate those pretty easy and just go ahead and save it directly to that drive when you create the backup file. So most of you probably know how to do that because you're probably saving other files already. So those are our 2 tips that will help you once you've ended the tax year for 2016, you finished all that up, make sure and save copies of your key reports, your tax reports, and then back up your TradeLog files. Now let's talk about some best practices, and we have 3 best practices that we want to highlight that are going to help you to utilize TradeLog successfully through the year, and hopefully what our goal is to make it easier for you to do your 2017 tax reporting with TradeLog. If you don't touch TradeLog from now until next February or March, well, it's maybe going to be quite a task to handle your reporting. So we encourage you to do a few things, some best practices that will help you throughout the year and get the most out of your software subscription. So the 3 things are keeping TradeLog up to date, importing your trade history at least monthly, and then using the performance features in the software. So let's talk about keeping TradeLog up to date. And this is fairly simple, really. All you need to do is run TradeLog software, and anytime there's an update to the software, you're going to be prompted when you run the software. So just follow the on-screen prompts to go ahead and do the update. We suggest running the software at least once a month, and then that's going to do any updates, and it's going to tie in with our next best practice. Why keep your software up to date? Well, it's going to resolve any bugs and any breaks that happen. Sometimes in our Broker Connect, especially, brokers might have made changes on their end, so we have to make changes in the software in order to keep connecting with the data. So make sure you keep the software up to date. That's going to help alleviate as many of the support concerns and such that you might have. And also, as we have any new enhancements and features and such, those will be released with the software as well, so you want to make sure and benefit from those. The next best practice that we want to talk about is importing your trade history monthly. Some might choose to import trade history more frequently. I know some of our users, our very active users, are using TradeLog daily to import their trade history, some weekly, but at least we recommend importing monthly. When you do that for all of your accounts, it's going to really help you make the tax year easier when it comes to doing your tax reporting, but also you're going to benefit throughout the year. So a couple of things that are involved with this best practice to really get the most out of it. Import your trade history once a month, and what I suggest is comparing your end of month holdings with your broker statement. So just like you verify your open positions at the end of the year with your broker statement, you can do that each month when you get your broker statement, verify on TradeLog what's open in the account at the end of the month. That's going to make it a lot easier because you're going to know that your trade history is up to date. So any problems that surface, if there's any adjustments that need to be made, you're going to see those and you can make them real closer to when it actually happened. For example, if there was a corporate action, if there was a stock split or something that happened this month, well, at the end of the month, if you import all your trade history, you compare it with your statement, you're going to see, oh, there was a corporate action I need to adjust for. You can go ahead and take care of it, and it's usually a whole lot easier now when things are fresh in your mind and the details are fresh. And then as you continue to import, everything will be accurate. But sometimes those things can get a little bit messier if you're importing the entire year in one big batch. Also, you can run the potential wash sales report, and you can utilize that throughout the year, especially in December and January is when wash sales can really affect your taxable gains and loss numbers. So that's when you especially want to be aware of that. But I'll mention, if you are trading the same securities in a taxable and a non-taxable IRA account, there's some pretty nasty IRA wash sale rules that can affect you. And so the potential wash sale report can help you to identify any of those types of wash sales that might come up. And you might be able to avoid or take action to defer some of those. So you can learn more about that. I'll show you where you can find some of the information about the potential wash sale report towards the end of our presentation. But that's something you can do. Also, this is a question that a number have asked, and if you need to pay quarterly estimated taxes, if you're importing into TradeLog and you're keeping everything up to date, then you can run the G&L report, and that's going to help see where your standing is for your taxable gains and losses at the end of each quarter. And you can use that to help with doing your estimated tax payments to the IRS. So that's another feature in TradeLog that can help you out. It's not going to be a surprise at the end of the year. You're going to know where you're at as each month ends if you're importing your trade history. So you're going to eliminate problems and some of the errors that can occur if you import at least monthly. We find that that really makes a huge difference for users, especially if you're an active trader. Also, if you're doing that, as I mentioned, when December ends, all you have to do is verify your year-end open positions, which shouldn't be too hard. There shouldn't be any big surprises because you've been doing that each month. And all the adjustments will already be cared for throughout the year. So all you'll need to do is get your 1099, reconcile it, and you'll be ready to close out your tax year. So it'll be a whole lot easier if you do this. But two, you can also utilize some of the TradeLog features, some of the other features of the software besides just the tax reports, to help you, be a better trader. And that's what we want to help you do as well, to really get the most out of TradeLog. And that's what goes into our third best practice that we want to highlight, and that is learning to use some of the performance features in the software. So with TradeLog, we have a number of performance features, which I'll show you in just a moment. The performance reports, the charts, the filters. These different tools can allow you to really analyze your trade history and look at your performance. And that's going to help you understand your trading, and it's going to help you to become a more profitable trader, which is what hopefully you want to do. So there's those tools in TradeLog. If you're importing throughout the year, you can utilize those. And of course, you want to learn how to use those tools in the software. So those reports are found in the reports menu. You can go under trade analysis. We have, of course, the realized P&L, which gives you just actual profit and loss. You've got the detail reports and summary reports, really just showing your trades. But then you have the performance report, which gives you a snapshot of your performance for your portfolio, or if you're looking at a particular account, you can do that. And we also have the chart reports. And there's a number of different types of charts that you can run based on day of week, strategy, time of day, and then you can customize what you want charted, the frequency. So those charts can be used in different ways. Now, we're not going to go into detail on all of those. We are going to have a webinar coming up soon that's going to talk about how to use some of these reports, the performance report, the charts, to really get the benefits out of those. Also, filters can be very helpful. Say that you want to look at a particular trade. You want to look at the history you've done for that. A lot of people aren't aware of some of the filters that you can build in TradeLog, but if you turn on the grid filter, it's a lot like using Microsoft Excel if you're good with that. You can go in and you can actually select a particular security, and you can view all of the trades for that. You can go in and set dates, pick a particular date or set a date range. There's a lot you can do with the filters that can really help you drill down into your trade history to better understand what you've got going on and how to really use that information for different purposes. So these are some features in the software. As I mentioned, we're not going to go into a whole lot of detail. That's a whole nother presentation, but you do want to check out our upcoming webinars. Stay tuned. We're going to have some webinars that really help you to see how to use those performance reports, charts, and filters to help you understand your trading and be a better trader, and that's our goal. So going back over to our presentation, we'll kind of go to the end point here and wrap things up. If you do have any questions about anything we've discussed, you can go ahead and submit those questions and we'll answer those. I think so far we've answered most of the questions. But we want to also remind you, as you're using the software throughout the year, to make sure and get the help you need, especially if you're importing monthly. If you run into a problem or you have a question, this is another great reason to use the TradeLog software throughout the year. At tax time, our support team gets inundated because everyone's using the software all at once. But if you're smart and you're using the software throughout the year, if you do have problems that come up or you need help maybe with some adjustments that need to be made in your reporting, your trade history, our support team isn't as busy after the April 15th deadline. And so it's a lot easier to get support. But there's different ways to contact us for support. Of course, the number one thing we suggest you do is right from the TradeLog software in the top right corner, just click on the Get Support button, and you can fill out the support request that populates, and you can tell us the problem, and that's going to include your actual data file so we can see what's going on and be able to help you out there. Also, you can go to our support center online, tradelogsoftware.com/support. I'll show you that in a moment, or you can email us directly if the other means don't work. But there at our online support center, we've got a number of resources that can help you get started quickly. We've got the essentials of how to use TradeLog, the important steps for filing your taxes each year, as well as our tutorials and our webinars page. So you can find that information here. One of the things that I wanted to show you, for example, we talked about the potential wash sale report. On our website, you can simply type in potential wash sales, and it pulls up in the search. There's the topic, potential wash sales report, and that goes straight to the user guide, which is online. Of course, you can also pull this up in the software itself and look at the user guide, but that's going to give you the instructions on how to use this report, and we go into detail explaining the 3 sections of the report and what they mean and how you can use the information that it's telling you. So this is a great report to use throughout the year with TradeLog, and especially when we get to the end of the year, December and January, because that's when wash sales can really affect your taxable gains and losses. A lot of wash sales don't have that big of an impact throughout the year unless you're trading the same security in an IRA. So that's available here online in our support center. Also, you can check out our resources. We've got the information for trader tax resources, everything from 1099B to wash sales to 8949. If you have any questions about those things, you can check that out. But I wanted to mention our webinars as well. You can go to our support center and click on webinars, or you can go to tradelogsoftware.com/webinars, and that's going to take you up straight to our webinars page. So here we'll have upcoming webinars posted, and also any of the featured webinar recordings. If you want to go back and check out some of the recordings, we have a number of webinars that we've done over the years that help you to use TradeLog software throughout the year. As I mentioned, we'll be sending out an invitation soon for an upcoming webinar that will teach you more about how to use some of the performance reports and the charts and the filters and some of those tools, and really talk about how actual traders are using these reports to help them throughout the year. And that's what we want to do, is help make your trading easier and better, and to have TradeLog as a tool that you can use for that. So all of that information you can find here, and you can sign up for those future webinars. Or as I mentioned, if you get emails from us, if you're on our email list, then we'll send an email invitation directly to you as well. All right, so I think that pretty much answers most of our questions. So we appreciate everyone joining us this afternoon. It's a quick little webinar, but we hope that these tips and best practices help you out. But thank you all very much for joining us, and hope you have a wonderful evening.